crowned the most beautiful woman in the world. She had Hollywood on its knees and Europe wrapped around her finger. But while her face graced the silver screen, her body and heart were caught in a web of passion, scandal, and intrigue that the tabloids only dreamed of fully understanding. This is the untold crazy sex life of Gina Lollobrigida. In the late 1940s, Gina was a fresh-faced beauty queen entering the Miss Italy pageant. She didn't win, but she didn't need to. Her exotic mix of earthy sensuality and fierce independence caught the eyes of photographers, directors, and yes, admirers with deep pockets. Even 1940s, Hollywood's hottest actor, Humphrey Bogart, once said that she made Marilyn Monroe look like Shirley Temple. Gina confessed that curiosity made her agree to appear in a few films since she was getting offers from directors even on her way to school. Curiosity led me to make appearances in 2 or 3 films, humble Gina said of the moment she was discovered. I had 2 directors stop me twice outside of my school and ask if I wanted to be in movies. Even though Gina refused to accept their offers, these directors would not relent. They came back, going to my mother to try and convince me, Gina said. My final strategy for getting them to leave me alone was to ask to be paid 1 million lira, which was a lot compared to the 1,000 lira I earned daily for secondary roles. To my great surprise, they accepted, and this is how I began my cinema career. It was the early 1950s. Gina Lollobrigida was lighting up movie screens across Europe, already a household name in Italy and France, and fast becoming the woman to watch. She had producers wrapped around her finger, and audiences eating out of the palm of her hand, and then a Hollywood producer called. But not just any Hollywood producer, it was Howard Hughes, the eccentric billionaire, aviation tycoon, film mogul, and notorious woman collector. Hughes had seen Gina's bikini photo in a magazine and became obsessed. Gina was offered the chance to work in Hollywood by Howard Hughes himself, and that's where things started to get spicy. Hughes made it his mission to get Gina to work with him. So he flew her to Los Angeles, first class, glamour, gifts, 5-star hotels, you name it, he threw it at her. He set her up in a private suite, arranged business meetings disguised as dates, and made it clear that he wasn't just offering her a contract, he was offering himself. Now, Gina was no fool. She saw through Hughes's charm and the chance at the Hollywood dream he offered her. She later said he tried to isolate her, control her, keep her away from her friends, and push her into a life she never asked for. He wanted her under contract, but also under his thumb. She'd left her husband, Milko Škofić, behind at home to follow Hughes to Hollywood, but it had turned back around to stab her in the back. Hughes had led her to trust him, and once in Hollywood, he'd stripped her of her freedom, basically turning her into his hostage. He locked her up in a hotel suite, with guards outside her door. All I saw was Howard Hughes, Gina told the tabloids years later. He kept her around and tried to convince her to divorce her husband for him. Being true to her marriage, Gina turned him down. Still, Hughes continued to persist, and in true Gina fashion, she said no, repeatedly. She turned down one of the most powerful men in the world, not just because she didn't trust his intentions, but because she knew her worth. She didn't need Hollywood to become a star. She already was one. Years later, she called Hughes too possessive and said, point blank, "I didn't like the way he treated me." She walked away from a golden ticket into the American film industry, all because she wouldn't sell herself short, not for fame, not for money, not for anyone. And Hughes? Well, let's just say he didn't take rejection well. With his connections, he made sure she got blacklisted by everyone in Hollywood, meaning that Gina couldn't act in Hollywood without facing a potential lawsuit from Hughes. He'd gotten her to sign a contract with him in her inebriated state. And since English was not Gina's first language, she found the terms in the contract unclear, but Hughes managed to convince her. Unfortunately, the contract bound her acting career to him. I couldn't return to Hollywood without Howard Hughes filing a lawsuit. He said I was his property. Gina eventually returned to Europe, where she continued to make films on her own terms, in her own language, without a man behind the curtain pulling the strings. That move cemented her legacy, not just as a star, but as a woman who refused to be owned. Eventually, MGM signed her on and paid off Hughes to placate him. MGM had to pay $75,000 to Howard Hughes, in addition to my contract, just to placate him, Gina said. She was casted as the star actress in major films such as Trapeze and Never So Few, where she acted alongside great actors like Tony Curtis, Burt Lancaster, and Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra was said to have been so smitten by Gina that he diligently tried to court her. Gina revealed that she felt embarrassed and guilty by Frank Sinatra's attention. While other actresses were being groomed and branded by powerful men in smoke-filled studios, Gina carved out her own career. She flirted with Hollywood, sure, but she never belonged to it. In 1971, she divorced Milko because, according to her, he played tennis and counted the money. He did not do anything else. Back in Italy and France, Gina's list of admirers grew longer and more powerful. Actors, directors, royals, and politicians lined up, hoping to win her favor. Some say she had torrid affairs with fellow actors Jean-Paul Belmondo and Yul Brynner. Others whisper about secret rendezvous with royals. Gina never confirmed any names. She played the game her way by being flirtatious, elusive, magnetic. If she loved someone, she kept it private. If she used someone, they never knew until she was gone. For decades, the media pit Gina Lollobrigida against fellow Italian bombshell Sophia Loren. They were both curvaceous, sultry, and impossibly glamorous, but Gina always insisted the rivalry was invented by men who couldn't handle two strong women shining at the same time. Still, there was heat. In interviews, Gina accused Sophia's team of sabotaging her career and spreading lies. Sophia, on her end, stayed cool and dismissive. The feud may have been more Cold War than catfight, but behind the red carpets and magazine covers was a very real battle for space in an industry that only made room for one Italian goddess at a time. Gina threw shades at Sophia because she felt Sophia had her career handed to her on a platter on gold. For context, Sophia's husband was Carlo Ponti, an accomplished movie producer who used his influence to launch Sophia into movie stardom. "I succeeded only thanks to myself, without any producer supporting me. I did everything alone," Gina once said. Fast forward to the 2000s. Gina, well into her 70s, made headlines again when she revealed she was engaged to a man 34 years her junior. His name was Javier Rigau, a Spanish businessman whom she had known for decades. They announced their engagement in 2006, but it quickly unraveled into a bizarre legal drama. Gina claimed Javier had secretly married her by proxy in Spain using forged documents. Javier claimed she had agreed to it. It turned into a court case that dragged on for years. The media had a field day. Gina's boy toy, Lollobrigida scammed by younger lover, but beneath the headlines was something even juicier. Gina had never stopped being a woman of desire, even in her golden years. And even then, people still wanted a piece of her. Despite all the whispers, all the rumors, Gina kept her secrets close. She never apologized for her sexuality, never bowed to the pressure to marry for image, never let a man write her story for her. Her relationships were on her terms, whether they lasted a night, a year, or a lifetime. And she never saw sex as something shameful. She saw it as something natural, beautiful, a part of life that should be lived with passion. She once said, "I've had many lovers and still have romances. I am very spoiled. All my life, I've had too many admirers." Spoken like a true icon, Gina Lollobrigida wasn't just beautiful, she was powerful. She wielded her sexuality not as a weapon, but as a right. She lived a life of art, passion, and defiance. The world may have tried to turn her into a fantasy, but she remained firmly real. And while the cameras eventually stopped rolling, her legend kept growing. The world never really had Gina Lollobrigida. She was always a little too wild to be caught. What do you think about Gina's story? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to get more stories like this. See you next time, folks.